They said when I see my face, I'm supposed to start talking, so I'm going to start talking. Hey, this is not office hours, not after hours. It's extra hours. And Guy's not here. Grant's not here tonight, and he apologizes, and he said, would I be willing to take over for him? And that's what I'm doing. So we're going to talk about some tech stuff, but before we do, let's introduce who we have here. First, let's do these in order. Courtney, tell us in one sentence who you are, what you do.
I'm Courtney Gooden, retired audio video software engineer in Hollywood, California. Yes, coming to you from sunny Tinseltown.
And that Emmy behind you was not for audio or video engineering, was it?
Well, kind of. It's a scientific and technical Emmy, so it was handed
Wasn't
out
it
by
for
those people.
what I thought it was
For
for your prompter
software,
work.
inventing the first computerized teleprompter.
See, some of us used to do prompter on paper. Yep. Let's see. Let's go up to the grid. I think it was Guy next. Guy, what's up?
Hey, it's sunny here in I'm not San Diego. I'm not in San Diego today. I'm in Seattle, Washington, and wishing I was down there. And I saw some pictures from Grant. He sent a couple images when he said, "Hey, I won't be able to host the show tonight." And I said, "Fenwick's a good candidate for host. He's always entertaining. So this is going to be one of those entertaining shows. So I'm looking forward to it."
Entertaining, not necessarily good. Let's see the the grid. And I think next was Carl. Carl, where are you? What you doing?
So I'm in Adelaide, which is down in Australia. So this is on below the equator. Um, I'm a photographer, so I mainly do event photography. So my job won't be taken over by AI anytime soon. I hope.
How would it be taken over by somebody's got to carry that camera around?
Optimize.
pointing
No,
at
so
stuff?
you just get an Optimus. So, but when
Oh,
that happens,
okay.
I'm going to buy 3 Optimus, train them, and then I'll be managing other photographers that are just Optimize.
There you go. Jeffrey, how's things up where you are?
It's good. Does that mean that Carl's going to be Optimus Prime?
That's it. That's exactly right.
That'd be weird. So, anyway, it's nice and it was 40 degrees today, so it was really nice. We had snowfall 2 days ago. Now it's all gone.
They like to say that the jokes write themselves. I have yet to see that be the case. Courtney, what's the first question?
Well, the first question comes in from down in Round Rock, Texas. Peter Sargent asks us to compare and contrast Ecamm versus mimoLive.
It's a big difference, huh? Guy, what do you think?
Yeah, that's an interesting one because Ecamm has a new beta, so I hear that's coming out soon, and they're actually going to be on tomorrow night's show, and they're going to let us know what some of the differences are. So in the past, I've thought of Ecamm as a little bit more consumer, but so is mimoLive. It's just you got to go in there and dig and see what the capabilities are. So for input, Mimo actually stands for multiple in, multiple out. So they both do the same thing where you get video in and then you push it out either to like a YouTube or you can bring it into Zoom as a virtual camera. So they both do those things. But where things start to change a little bit is if you have professional tools like a Blackmagic or an AJA card, that multiple in thing starts to become a serious tool for people that want to do higher end things, records in ProRes and things like that. I don't think you could do that with Ecamm, but I do like Ecamm's cool, flashy new use of the M series hardware where you can have flying boxes move around that mimoLive hasn't caught up on that yet. So Oliver's doing a rewrite of, I think it's Metal. I'm not sure what the dynamics are as far as how it's developed, but I know that that's a big thing. So they're kind of neck and neck in some ways, and then one has way more power than the other in other ways. So I think you got to download them both and try them and play with them. But I'm just happy that Apple's coming out with these M4s and M5s that are just making it so easy to bring in, especially NDI. So they both do NDI and webcams, USB camera input. It's just fascinating to me to see how much power that we could squeeze out of what used to take a TriCaster that would cost like $5,000. So now you just pay like 50, 60 bucks a month and you got all this tremendous power. So if you want to do like what we're doing here, 2 boxes side by side, 3 up with a lower third, a ticker. A great example is David Paskin on Thursday night is totally using Ecamm. So, and there's a lot of people like Luria, she has live streaming pros. She has a big contingent of users that have wrapped their arms around that product. You know, Mac people like Mac solutions, and so with a powerful laptop, and both of these do push the limits. So you can't just go buy an old or have an old Intel or something like that and expect to get great performance. It'll fall apart. So you want to watch your activity monitor as you use these tools and start to add in more and more, because sometimes people expect it to be able to stream plus record, and that starts to put a serious load. And tomorrow I'm looking forward to Daniel Chi, who's I watch him in the Ecamm beta forums chatting with and helping people, and he definitely has recommended a lot of times to people to upgrade from the base level, whatever, or older model that they had, and that solved problems. So they're both pushing the envelope of these new Mac M series silicon.
Yeah, we've talked about this a lot on office hours, and that the big issue with any software based switcher is you don't have. So with a physical switcher, you can look at it and you go, oh, I got 4 buttons, or I got 8 buttons, or I got 16 buttons. I probably can only do 8 things, you know, cut between 8 different things with this. With a software switcher, you know, like I use OBS all the time, I can just keep adding, you know, sources and events and things like that, and all of a sudden I don't realize it, but I'm choking the thing, and it won't work. And so before Jeffrey jumps in, Guy, you mentioned the name Mimo stands for multiple in, but it also stands for multiple out. Talk a little bit about the outputs, because that's where I think Oliver's product excels over other software-based switchers, because he's thought about that. And frankly, it's the same is true with like audio mixers. A lot of times people say, oh, I need a 32 input switcher or mixer. How many aux buses do you have? You know, how many matrix outs do you have? Sometimes the outputs are more important than the inputs.
Yeah, and that's the interesting thing. You can say, I want just a program, or I do just want this camera. And I'm pretty sure you cannot do that with Ecamm. I mean, somebody correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but when you say MIMO, multiple in, multiple out, if you have a deck link and you want to feed SDI in and then feed, let's say I have a quad, I could say, I want these 4 in and then I want these 4 out. And so now I could route those around if I don't have a traditional switch or a router or smart hub or something like that. I can route things around and then do records and then use NDI. And there's another thing called Siphon that will natively bring in video with, I don't know exactly how Siphon works, but it's something about it. It just doesn't touch like NDI has to actually go through the chip, go through processing, versus Siphon, I think it's somehow it just leaches onto the graphics card and just pushes video right through locally. It doesn't go anywhere else. It's on the same machine. But the other thing, if Alex Lindsay was here, he would say it's got a cool remote interface, which, so a long time ago, I helped develop a product called the One Button Studio, and it is controlled by that remote control interface. So you can take an iPad or a phone and you move these buttons around. So if you did want an out and you wanted it to do a certain thing, you could just push that button and it would say, for instance, start record or stop record or begin a countdown. Or for this show, I mean, we're cutting it right now using that. And we had a way that we worked with Oliver that when you walked in and it saw your face, it would turn on the lights. So we integrated into a whole system. So that was mimoLive actually recognized using facial detection. It would turn on the lights and then get ready to record. So pretty cool interface. And it does have also telestration. I don't think Ecamm has that. So with the One Button Studio product, we developed this really slick, they call it the painter layer way of telestrating. So you could plug in a laptop and have your PowerPoint, or if you're a coach talking about football, you can do a play out off your laptop and then do the coach moves and telestrate a football player went that way and that way. So yeah, some cool features that just aren't in the other products.
I think it's
how many
very
layers
easy.
does each one support? Sorry, nobody.
I think it's just bound by hardware, because I'm looking at the one that we have right now, so I could see
it's bound by the processing power more than anything.
Exactly. And for those of you that are interested, you can go into After Hours right now, and I'm pushing our show, the mimoLive interface, into After Hours, so you can watch what the TD is doing and the EIC is doing. You don't see the remote control interface, but you do see the interface of mimoLive, so you could see how many layers we've got. If somebody's back there and could scroll up and scroll down, I could tell you there's probably 20 or 30 layers right now at least, because I could see 2 up, 3 up. Actually, could I cut to this? Give me a second. Go ahead and go to Courtney, and I'll bring up the interface.
Jeffrey, what's your take on this?
Well, I was going to say that, well, I've I used mimoLive long time ago. It's part of the Boinks software network, and they have a whole bunch of other programs. I remember also doing a review for iStop Motion Pro, which was a really cool thing you could use with your iPad to actually make stop motion videos. So they've got a robust amount of software also behind them on there in a parent company, and so it's been around for a pretty good while. I remember doing the iStop Motion in 2015, and so pretty decent software right there. Ecamm, it's always, I always call that little the new kid on the block that's just ready to do what it needs to do to get things done. There's a lot of people that are just fanatics about Ecamm, and you'll see that tomorrow night on the Tuesday Focus show when they talk about the deep dive and when they deep dive into Ecamm, of course.
So Guy looks like he's got the interface. Guy, let's take the guy's
take
camera.
a look at it here. It's going to go into
that's feedback.
Yeah, it's going to feedback in, but at least it gives you an overview as to what's going on behind the scenes. I don't know if they could scroll up and scroll down now and show all those layers.
If you're not used to seeing this, the
Infinity.
Guy, wiggle your mouse around the program view there.
That's
so
the IC.
like the upper right-hand corner, that's basically what the TD has switched to, which is a feedback loop. So if you can see down in the middle toward the bottom, there's me down there. Okay, yeah, you can kind of see it like that. Go back to the full view, please. And so you can see all the input sources down at the bottom. I like to describe Mimo as, it's almost like Photoshop for video, because you build layer stacks and then you program it to turn on and off various layer stacks. At least that's the way it currently works, I believe. So anyway, that's mimoLive versus Ecamm. And yes, I've been told to promote that tomorrow night you guys are going to do a big breakdown of the Ecamm. So that'll be interesting. Let's Courtney, let's go to the next question.
Alrighty then. The next question comes in from Berlin, Germany. Andre Dolly says, Rabbithole. Getting used to Claude code after Chris Sabato's workshop, which was on Sunday, is fascinating. I'm building a HR planning app for a friend in a small cultural center right now. Not necessarily a question.
Andre, can you restate that in the form of a question? No, I'm sorry. Guy, what do you have to say about this?
Yeah, it was awesome that Chris Sabato did a little 50-person deep dive into after hours. It was a lab that went down yesterday at 10 a.m. and he had given people prereqs to give the folks that wanted to play the opportunity to download the software and put it on their machine. But really what it invoked, and I was at church, so I didn't get to sit and actually attend it. I was kind of reading captions and following along, but I saw Churig was in there as well as Justin James. So it sounds like they went to bat for him. And there is a recording. I haven't seen the recording pop yet. I think that there was some things that they might need to cut out, but what a way for the community to get together and really embrace these new tools and technologies. And that's cool to see Andre jumping in on an app that fast, because it's fascinating when you tell it to do something. So over the weekend, I actually created a Zoom ISO, what they call MCP. So with my voice, I could just say, route all these. First I said, who's in the meeting? And it would give the list of the 8 people in the meeting. And then I said, route them all to the deck link outputs 1 to 8. And it just went bloop, and it just did it. And I was like, this was after a lot of programming, but I got it to finally work. And I would have never thought of myself as a developer. But when I saw that, I about fell out of my chair because it happened so fast. And I put a video in our Discord showing this actually working. It's powerful stuff when you start to realize that you don't have to write the code. You can just talk to it in just normal human language, and it understands it and can write the code for you in C++, JavaScript, Node.js, all this crazy stuff that you would have never, you would have had to be a developer for 10, 20 years to figure out how to do this stuff. And now it just does it fast. I mean, it's fascinating. So I'm excited for the future of our group. I hope to see Chris and other people doing more of these types of things, because AI in production, that might be our second hour, our name of another show that we wind up doing. I know there's a lot of interest in getting things to work.
Yeah, a lot of people are actually working with this stuff right now I keep seeing posts from Mark Spencer from Ripple Training. He's working on building a chat bot or whatever that stuff is called. I don't know, but I will say this: if what Guy was just talking about there, after hours, that is a 24/7 lab. Oftentimes now it's quiet, but quite often things get posted. So anyway, watching this show is only half of this the experience. What you want to do, and somebody's going to yell in my ear. Actually, no, because I don't have comms on. But you should go to askofficehours.global or use this QR code. That's if you want to ask a question. Also, go to the website, officehours.global. Plenty of things to get involved in. You can learn about how to get into after hours and hear about some of these things that are happening. Tons and tons and tons of stuff to learn. Courtney, what's the next question?
Next one comes in also from down in Austin, Texas. Paul Valhus says, I just built http firth.com, F-I-R-T-H, and Austin, spelled AUSTEN.com, with Claude tools I learned about from Chris Sabato. What's next?
Is this
getting
is this
sued by Colin Firth? I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, is this a Colin Firth fan site? Jeffrey, what's your take on that?
I don't know. I know the Austen one is Jane Austen novels website, because I was there watching Chris do that. He was doing a great job, and of course he did the show on Sunday, and I'm pretty impressed on how all that works. Of course, I've been working with different AIs. I've been doing mostly Chat GPT. I decided to switch over to Gemini just to get a good connection between what both of them can do. And I've been running lots of different things with ChatGPT. I remember my first code in ChatGPT was for my website. I decided, well, I'm making all these shorts. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to have a container that would put up a random short on my website from the list of shorts that I put into the list. And so I went in there and it took like 4 or 5 tries to get it going. I added a couple things. It broke a few times. The one thing about AI is it doesn't have a really good memory as to what to do. And if you tell it to do part A, part B at the same time, it's going to not do one of the two. And you say, hey, you forgot to put part A in there, and then it's going to do part A, and then it's going to totally mess up part B. So you got to be very patient with how all that works. Of course, it gets better all the time. There is another place that I go, and that is I got turned on to this. I did a review on this last year. It's called UWare, and there's a lot of these programs out here now that will, for like $20 a month, you can do almost everything. This is a thumbnail generator that I created with UWare. But the thing about that is it takes ChatGPT, it takes Claude, it takes all the AIs, and it uses the best AI for what you're asking it to do. So if you want it to make a game, it'll make a game. It'll go to one of the AIs. If you want to make a website, it'll go to another AI, wherever is best for that. So, and then of course, whereas like all of them are like $20 a month just to get in the door, that you don't, if you don't want the freemium model, then this one is like $20, and then you get all the features of all of them, and you're only still paying $20. And this is one of many of that are out there. So if you're building websites or building games or building whatever, you go to a specific website that will then have the licenses to all the AIs, and then you can build whatever you want.
Courtney, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was trying to figure out how Paul possibly got a 5-letter URL these days. I don't think there are any left available.
He's had them for a while.
I went to the website, and this is the Colin Firth website. It says here, this is a reimagining. It's a fan site established in 1998, restoration in progress. So perhaps he's restoring the fan website from 1998, and that's how he managed to get a URL that's firth.com. So
who's the it's Colin First. Who's the guy who
Firth, Colin Firth?
I know that's the actor, but there's another guy who has a name like that. He has a big tunnel underneath his house. He's a British guy.
Really?
come on, somebody help me so I don't sound quite so stupid or crazy.
That's
Two-
Furs. If
two
you are
Stephen
Z.
Furs?
Furs.
If you are Z.
Stephen Furs?
No,
Is it
it's
Stephen?
Colin Furs. No, it's
Colin Furs. Thank
Colin
you.
Furs. If you are
Guy,
Z.
Guy, what's your take on this? What's next?
This is the other one, by the way.
I'm not
Looks
sure what's
more like
next for-
something that would code it with Claude.
Yeah, for Paul, I think he's just dipping his toe in the water, and I'm proud of him for stepping up and asking for help, because people like Ian Morrish, who hang out in after hours, were of great assistance to Paul for bringing this back online. And it's one of those things when you see the power of something just automating and just sucking down, like doing the work of that would take a year, because he has 50,000 pages on the austin.com. So it's pulling all those down from the Wayback Machine from archive and basically putting them back. And so it's helping them rebuild something that would have been super tedious. And now is a great point in time. And I had the same thing with another project that I was working on where it just would have been way too tedious. And then I gave it to AI and it was just like, I can handle this. And it was a 3.7 gigabyte SQL file that I finally was able to have it parse and go through. And there's over 1 million lines of Excel database stuff in those files. And so to have it parse, and now I had to build me a front end and I could sort data and I could pull up things, and it's pretty crazy, the possibilities. As far as Jeffrey, what you were saying about it forgetting things, that this is where you go into plan mode and you can have it create in Claude a Claude MD file, and that gives it an overview. And then the thing that Chirig and I and some other folks have been doing is buying a dedicated machine. So we installed Proxmox and then Ubuntu on a dedicated machine with a 1 terabyte hard drive, a B-Link by Courtney for $400. And now all the files stay on there. So as it's working, we either push it to GitHub and then have it store there, or a combination of on the hard drive locally. And that way it doesn't forget, it's all memorized. Because that was the most frustrating thing when I first started using ChatGPT and I was trying to build this OMT to SDI decklink little app. It would just forget. And that was my first foray into trying to build an app, was with ChatGPT, and I worked on it for weeks and I was so frustrated. And then Chirig's like, that's not the way you do it, dude. And I was like, what? So there is a lot of learning in this community where you could save a lot of time by attending these workshops. Hopefully Chris Abato's writing up some prereqs for the next one, and we can get some more folks to join in, because I think we're just touching the surface of this, and I think it's hugely important to get these little tidbits of knowledge that save you weeks of pain.
Courtney, let's go to the next question.
Next one comes in from Kenny Hampton in Greenville, Illinois. What software platform are you using for extra hours? And adjusting to various programs a challenge for the back-end crew?
Okay, let's hold on this shot here for a second. We got Fenwick and Courtney there, 2 up. We got the little graphic and stuff. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. Guy was saying that we are doing this all on Mimo. So I think Robert Green is switching the show. Robert, this is a question for you. So open your mic. You've done this on Mimo, and you've used the other systems that we do. What's your thought on switching between different tools to cut these types of shows?
Yeah, his audio won't come through because he's not mapped. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, okay. Is it impossible to do that? So I will say this. Let's
play a game of telephone, Chris.
It's highly organized. It's highly organized and it's highly polished. And I was just chatting with the team and I go, stand by everybody, I'm going to do an audible. And they're like, what? So he can't, although I can hear him in my ears, it's not coming out to the show. So what I'll tell
him, he's hot now. He's hot.
Hi. Greetings.
There we go.
Give it a try, Robert.
Go to Robert.
So hi. Well, first off, let's see if I'm going to be in the matrix here. I have to build the 6 up and let's see what happens. Nope, I'm not mapped there. So we'll go back to the 5 up. So I'm doing mimoLive. It's like a big giant grid on my iPad and I'm doing it via touchscreen. So it's definitely a different interface. It's pretty snappy if you know where you're going pretty fast. I've also cut on the, what's the other one called? the Viz Vector. We were doing that's how we did that for a year on this show on Extra Hours. And I did a couple times training on our hardware interface, which is through Isadora and the Ecamm hardware.
There he is.
Oh, hi. Frightening.
we found it. So we are absolutely peeling the onion here. We're taking down the fourth wall, whatever you want to call it. Is the iPad hold upable? Can you just show it to us? And again, this is not polished. We don't like to do things this way. Look at that. He's all branded with the right hat and everything. Thank you. That's
He's
awesome.
going to pick up the iPod and take us completely off the air. Watch this.
Yeah, right. So there's the user interface, and this is part of what Mimo does. You can build these custom interfaces to do exactly the things that he needs
Taylor's
to be able.
cutting right now.
Oh, you gave over control to somebody else?
Well, we usually have a backup on this so that this is a web interface, and we're dialing into the home unit. I think it's over with Guy's place, right?
Yeah,
and
the physical hardware is at Guy's house. Yeah, I will say from somebody.
Yeah, most of our shows have a backup in place of one sort of another.
So I will say this: my career, not quite as long as Courtney's, but my introduction to broadcast television was January. It was 40 years ago this January, so 40 years in a couple of months. And the what you guys are doing here is like science fiction. It's really crazy. Guy, you had something you wanted to say?
I was just going to say it's the Cochrane Cloud, we call it, but it's really just my house. Yeah, it sounds fancier to call it the Cochrane Cloud, but all it is just somebody else's hardware. Which in this case, it's a Mac Studio that we have running here. I can pull up the interface here in a minute. I was about to pull that up, but yeah, it's basically a $2,000 computer. It'll take me a minute, but yeah, if you guys keep going, I'll pull it.
Yeah, and so like the difference between what I started doing 40 years ago and what Guy has built here using Oliver's software, let's not undersell the fact that Guy lives in some magic neighborhood up in the Seattle area where he has, what do you have, like 10 gigabytes up and down?
Yeah, it's 10 gigabit up and down. Yeah.
So that's better than probably 99.9% of the neighborhoods in the United States.
And businesses too.
And businesses too.
10 times better than me.
Yeah. How close are you, Guy? Should we come back to you?
Here it is. Let's see. Let me pull here.
And I apologize. Here. I apologize, Grant. I've broken your show here. You normally do a very polished show, and I am literally just throwing wrenches into it. So there's the user interface. That's the same thing that Robert was showing us on the iPad.
There you go. That's the fancy push button display. And so we've had Viz, and we may go to Ross, but it's cool that we have a place here that we could play. So I'm very thankful for Viz and those in the past who have stepped up and let us play. Oliver's big with donating his time and efforts to actually produce this and make this. So we were able to say, what does the show need? And then create this thing. And some people might go, that's a mess, but hey, it's what works for this show. You could buy a big physical panel, but this just operates on a $300 iPad. So it's pretty cool that you could have this kind of touch button functionality and not have to buy the hardware.
But to be clear, it's not like all of the video is running. You said it works on an iPad. It's controlled by an iPad. The video is not actually flowing through.
Yeah, this is just a web browser right here. So this is on another computer that's on the same network. So this is actually another Mac Studio that's sitting probably 10 feet away from me that I just pulled this up. But they're tunneled in here through Cloudflare tunnel, and they're seeing this same thing on Robert's, I think he's in LA, and they're seeing it in Cincinnati as well, at Taylor's place. So this is the cool thing about this is, I mean, we're all the way in different cities across America, and we're able to cut this show.
And there's no reason, the world. And there's no reason why Carl couldn't be switching it from his house also.
At all. Nope.
So, and I sometimes it might sound like I'm kind of beating a dead horse about some of these details, but it is, there are still many people that can't wrap their head around things that some of these people have been doing, like the amount of development that came out of COVID because that built all of these systems are just amazing to me. Anyway, let's move on. Courtney, what's the next question?
Next one comes in from Alexandria, Virginia. Jason Hunter asks, is DaVinci Resolve certification something hiring editors and colorists actually care about, or is it mostly a resume line?
What do you say, Carl?
So if you want to be hired as an editor or as a colorist, one, you need to have done the work. Two, if you want to have a line on your resume, the line on the resume you want is that you teach, DaVinci Resolve, you teach color. So you can teach the software to other people. That's the only line you should have. If you're applying for the job, it's assumed knowledge that you know how you have. It's like driving a car. If you want to be an Uber driver, they're not going to ask you, do you have a license? Do you know how to drive a car? That's kind of assumed knowledge if you want to be an Uber driver. So it's more about insurance and stuff. So and whether your car meets the standards. So this is more the thing. So if you're going to edit from home, if you're going to be remote, then do you have the hardware to do the job? The expertise of editing and understanding the fundamentals of editing, which have nothing to do with software, they're things you need to have. But if you want to put software on your resume, the line you want on there is that you can teach the software to other people. That's really the only line I'd ever put in my resume as far as anything like software is that I can teach just because they may hire you to do that because they may have like a big job where they need 6 editors at once. And they need someone, and that's a good thing. But saying you know how to use it, teenager knows how to use it in their basement. So that's not really a line I'll put on my resume. But knowing how to teach it is one thing. Being certified, that's for you. That's not for your employer. That's for you to know you've ticked all the boxes as understanding the software and what it can do. But the fundamentals of editing are more important than the software itself.
So, Carl, I'm confused. Why do you think teaching is so important? Being able to say that you can teach it is important to this question.
To this question, so what they're asking about is essentially they're asking certification to hiring editors. So if you're the person doing the hiring, do you want to look for certification? Yes, no. But if you're the person applying, then what you want on your resume, if you're going to have it on your resume, you can just say competent in this software or competent in all modern editing software. Really, if you're a professional editor, you should be competent in the software that you've chosen. And you say, hey, look, we work in this. Or, essentially you'd be what you call an SME, a subject matter expert. So if you're only focusing on one type of software, then to be paid by me, you have to be an SME. You have to know way more about that software than I do. And that's it. If you want to be a general editor, and this works for like YouTubers and Twitch streamers, they hire editors, so essentially these people who have massive gaming machines and don't want to pay them off, so they'll edit for other YouTubers in their spare time when they're not gaming. And so that's how they make money. But what they have to do is they have to work with other groups. So they have to work in all 3 major ones. So they have to work with the Adobe Premiere, they have to work with Final Cut, and they have to work with DaVinci because they're bouncing between different YouTubers who want to work in different styles. So in that kind, you're almost like a generalist as an editor. And there's lots of work out there in YouTube space. But if you're hiring someone and you're looking down the resume of someone, essentially you want to see either they have all 3 covered or 3 major ones covered. And really you want to work with them or speak to someone who's worked with them before or just see their work. So you want to kind of see how they do a job and their turnaround time, their professionalism. So that's a whole other thing. And then, but if they're locked into one particular type of software, let's say it's Premiere because you're Windows based, let's say. So then you want to make sure they're an SME in Premiere. And if they don't understand what a subject matter expert is, then that's fine. Just put them at the bottom of the list. Don't take them off the list altogether. Put them at the bottom of the list and go to the next one until you find a subject matter expert. Because that's really important if you're asking someone to do like a colorist. That's really important for a colorist because that's even a niche, even more niche than an editor. You do want to find someone who's a subject matter expert and understands the fundamentals. So you don't have to get someone who edited on film back in the 90s. You don't have to do that. But they have to understand the fundamentals of understanding why we start with an establishing shot and then move into a close shot. And then at the end of a scene, it's for narrative, I guess, and then move back out. But not necessarily, it can be for documentary. But it's part of storytelling. And it also depends what type of story you're telling and get the correct editor for that. Because if you're doing wildlife, that's completely different again.
So I will say, Jason, as somebody who gets to hire editors on occasion, I don't care. I don't care about your education. I don't care about any certificates. I don't care about any of that. what I do, probably the thing that I'm most interested in is send me a link to your YouTube channel. I'll watch a few things and I'll decide. And I'm never going to just lay a contract in front of you and say, hey, welcome aboard. You know, you're now a full-time editor at Slice. I'm going to hire you to do a job, and I'm going to see how long it takes you and how many times, you know, somebody has to interface with you. And we're going to see how it works. We're also going to ask everybody, hey, what'd you think of the new guy? Should we keep him around or not? I'll tell you, most of what happens in this industry is people dealing with people and not people dealing with computers. So certificates maybe, but I will tell you honestly, I don't care. The last 2 employees that we hired, we trained them in everything that they're doing on a day-to-day basis now. Courtney, let's go to the next question.
All right. Next question comes in from Raj Chandil in Los Angeles, California, right here where I'm sitting. Openclaw is not being absorbed by Claude. Feels like Reese's peanut butter cup missing the peanut butter. It was Claudebot for a reason. What am I missing?
Guy, can you explain it?
Yeah, so I came along with this whole adventure from when it was Claudebot. I went in and installed it on a machine, and I even went so far as to invite people in after hours to come and join me as we played with it. And one of our fellow cohorts here, Cherig, was nice enough to give us $20 in tokens to go ahead and beat up on this thing. And basically what it is it's a way of talking to an LLM. In this case, we wanted it to be Claude, and that's the way I originally had mine hooked up, was on my what they call unlimited plan. Well, Claude Anthropic did not like the close name, so they basically had their lawyers say, hey, you need to change it. And so changed it to Moltbot, and then it went from Moltbot to Openclaw, and now it went to OpenAI. There was two big players on the fence as to who wanted to put up the money to entice Peter Steinberger, who's the inventor of this, to come to that side. And it wound up being Meta. It came down to Meta and OpenAI, and he's gone with OpenAI. And the thing is, he says it has to remain open. So what it is, and I just loaded something up here just to see what would happen. I just told it to open up Keynote and create 10 slides, black slides with 144 point type. And one of the things that it asks you to do is it wants to control. So this is the danger of this thing. And this is why it's on this separate computer. This is not my normal computer. This is a sandbox computer that doesn't have my stuff on it. So I'm going to say allow, and let's just see if this actually works. So let's see if it opens up Keynote, which it should have no problem open up Keynote. Is it going to do it? Yeah, I see Keynote opened. Is it doing it in the background? Let's see. Oh, it's stuck at this page. Oh, it's not gonna. Not gonna do it.
That's probably because you updated Keynote recently and you haven't relaunched it since you. So hit cancel now and rerun your script and quit Keynote. I think that.
Okay. So let's
just try it.
Quit out of Keynote, and then let's tell it create a Keynote with 10 black slides with 144 point text on each. So some of this stuff I could do with Claude, but not this kind of mouse interactive things. And this is what everybody's so excited about. This, okay, it's launching Keynote. Let me go over to Keynote so you guys can see it at the front.
Did it?
And now, yep, and it made 10 slides. See those 10 slides on the left? And that's 144 point type. So that's the power of this, is I could have done this, if I did this the first time and granted it the permission and didn't do the update, I could do this with Telegram or iMessage while I'm driving down the road. So I could just push a button on my car steering wheel and be like, hey, create 10 slides for me, go to Final Cut, go export that project that's, do or replace the lower third at 10 seconds in with this lower third name, and then re-export it. And that way, by the time I get home, that thing's already rendered, and then I could say just upload it to my YouTube and it'll upload it to the YouTube. So that's the power of this whole Openclaw thing.
If you go back to that user interface and type into it, can you say something like, go to slide 6 and change the placeholder text to chapter 6?
change
Let's
the
see if
text
let's see
to
let's see if
chapter
this thing-
6.
Yeah, maybe make chapter with a capital C.
Oh, I already.
It's-
There it went.
oh, wow. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Courtney, what's your thought on this?
Yeah, put a picture of Fenwick on slide 7. No, can't do that. Well, the nice thing is about Openclaw is it's open source and it's cross-platform, works on Linux, Mac, and Windows. So I think you can install it on anything you got there, as long as you don't ask it to open a keynote to build a keynote for you when you're running on Windows.
Yeah, that could be a problem. I tell you, most of this stuff, I'm just going to say it still scares me. Courtney, let's read the next question.
Next one comes in from Tommy Shantz in St. Paul, Minnesota. What are you using for headless computers? I saw some cool Intel MacBooks without screens used in a setup recently. It looks like it could be an inexpensive input device. Thoughts?
I can't imagine. Courtney doesn't have some input on headless computers. Carl, what's your thought?
So if we're talking, so you're talking like a Intel Mac. So if we're talking Mac, then it's going to be a Mac Mini. I wouldn't do anything Intel in Mac at the moment, and because it's 2019 was the last Intel release from Mac. So that's, they're getting close to what they call obsolete status, I believe, in the software. It's gone from vintage to obsolete pretty soon. So Mac Mini. So there you go. So $499. So $499 for a Mac Mini. So now this is education pricing, but everyone has education pricing. There's no problem with that. But yeah, $499 for a Mac Mini, you can't beat it. This is the M4, of course. So, but yeah, Mac Mini M4 base model is more powerful than nearly anything you can. Anything that's less than $1,000 from anything else.
Let's go to the other side of the aisle. Courtney, what's your input?
Well, I have a lot because I bought them while they were cheap. Now they're not so cheap. GMK Tech used to make these little bitty teeny things. They're Intel Celeron based. They're nice because unlike the Macs, Minis, they have all the ports you need without dongles. So it's got this little one. I don't even think they make this one anymore. I think this is the G5 from GMK Tech. We'll ever focus on it, but
Price. What's
these were like $138 when I was buying them. Then they went up to about $200, and now they're no longer made. They have the big brother here, which is the 2. This is this one was based on an N97 Intel quad-core Celeron, so it was pretty good. It was accelerated to 3.4 gigahertz. This one's interesting in that it has 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, and it has 3 one display port and 2 HDMI ports on it, and 3 USB 3 ports on it. And it has, of course, networking built in and Wi-Fi 6, I believe. And these were about $200 bucks. Now that RAM prices have gone up, and that includes a licensed copy of Windows 11 Pro, which if you just bought that license, it's over $200 bucks. So, quite a deal.
And this is one of those
Windows
times.
11 Pro, so it has the remote desktop built into it, so you don't have to get any extra software to control.
This is one of those
headless.
This is one of those times when I agree with Courtney. You're going to spend almost that in dongles. Jeffrey, what's your input? Dongles if it were a Mac.
Dongles if it were a PC too. So I run a lot of headless machines. My Mac M4 over here is headless, and then I connect up via real VNC on my Windows machine, and then of course remote desktop on my Mac Air. And some of you have heard when I go out to shows, I take that M4 and I take my MacBook Air, and then I use the MacBook Air to access the M4, so I don't have to take an extra screen or keyboard or mouse or anything like that. It's really nice. On the Intel side, I have 2 NUCs running. One NUC is actually on both VLANs, so it can cross the network, so I can get my video, because one of my VLANs is cameras, the other one's computers, and of course that's basically the bridge between the two. And then the other NUC that I have is my comms, because it's an older NUC, an older i5, I think like 20 14 or something like that. It runs Windows 10. And then upstairs, I run a whole bunch of different Raspberry Pis in different configurations. And I'm always remoting into those back and forth. Some of them are just web interfaces, but others are going through something like Real VNC or TeamViewer. That's another one I use because I do have a couple machines that are not here in the house that I need to connect up to. So I will connect up to those headless machines using something like TeamViewer. There's other programs out there, of course. So,
Courtney?
I was just going to say, I was just looking at GMK Tech's website, and they do have this one that's $299, and they do have one that's even cheaper. But then I realized they have one that's cheaper with just 8 gigs and no SSD and no operating system. That's the gotcha there, is the no for $169. But these are i3s, Intel i3s, so Intel Core i3s, fairly recent updates there. But the problem is they don't sell them with Windows 11 on them anymore. So, you're going to pay for an OEM license. You're going to pay, a couple $100 for an OEM license of it, or you could put Linux on it for free. So, if you want to run Linux on it and run it headless, that's another thing you can do for these cheap NUCs that are out there.
Courtney, let's read the next question, although I don't know if we have an answer for you.
Okay. Next one comes in from Rajan Chandil in Los Angeles. Claude is allowing you to import your memory from another LLM. Is this the beginning of a lock-in and the end of using each LLM freely? And he has a link to Claude and the import memory function.
Well, Guy has become our resident AI expert. Go, Guy.
Well, it's funny because before the show, Taylor actually asked me to do this because he pulled out his phone and he said to ask Claude, what did he ask? He said like, "Who am I?" Let me see. Let's just try it. Hey Claude, who am I?
I'm Guy, a video production professional and technologist who runs Office Hours Global, a nonprofit producing live expert Q&A shows. You also operate production bots, developing voice-controlled broadcast automation systems that integrate AI with production hardware like ADEM switchers, DMX lighting, and PTZ cameras. Now, let me set that DMX light to 50%.
She got it wrong. She said, "I'm Guy." She meant to say, "You're Guy."
Well, it's funny because I just went over to manage memory, and this is where you can control and edit what it says and what it thinks. But what he's asking is, can you take this from ChatGPT and bring it into Claude, or if there's Grok or something like that? Because you spend a lot of time finessing these things, because I probably wouldn't want it. Production bots is something new that I just came up with. I probably wouldn't want that really associated with me right now, but that's one of those things where you can edit this and bring it over to somewhere else. And it's creating these memories as you have conversations with it, but some of the stuff you would not want it to publicly say, Oh.
Use tool DMX light control DMX.
Good grief, the robots are taking over. Jeffrey, what do you have to say?
I can't compete with that, but I will say that it's also about enterprise. Think of it like if you had an enterprise server room, and let's say you're running Exchange server for mail. All of a sudden, Google comes along and says, "Hey, we can take care of all your mail without you having that big old server sitting in the room." So they ditch the server and go to the cloud. Same thing here. Enterprise is making LLMs and they're tailoring them for their organizations. So Claude would want to have that organization because that's big money for them and they can continue on. So being able to bring in an LLM is a necessity so they can get some of these big companies. Maybe one company doesn't like how Claude's working. They want to move over to OpenAI, got a better deal. They can easily move their LLM with them and not have to recreate the wheel.
Courtney, next question.
Next one comes in from Roz McNulty in Vancouver, Canada, British Columbia. Any news or rumors about what everyone might be seeing at Apple in New York City? Facts, not fiction. There are no facts yet until Apple says them.
What do you say, Carl?
So they're doing the same as what they did last year. So last year they had a 3-day event and they kind of started with small and went larger. So it looks like this one they're going with economical to most expensive. So far they've announced the iPhone 17e, which is $599 starting price depending on how you configure it. So essentially, it's got the A19. So this is very similar to the, I guess, the 17 itself, just with one camera. So as we can see, if we come down a bit further, you'll see some of the specs. But yeah, so it has one camera on the back, which is similar to the Air, but the Air uses the A19 Pro, and it's a lot more expensive. But yeah, so new phone. The other thing that they've got coming in here, I believe, is going to be, if I go up here and we go to the next one, and that's the iPad. So iPad Air M4, again, $599. So I reckon it looks like the Monday announcements are going to be the budget announcements, education announcements, that kind of stuff. But yeah, so iPad Air. So it looks like we have another 2 days of announcements, and my guess is we're going to see each day the base cost of the base model for each product will go up. So my guess is by Wednesday we'll see the most expensive announcement.
Jeffrey?
Yeah, that's exactly it. We'll see how it works from there, but they're not going to make any new announcements. If you're thinking that they're going to be talking about a folding phone or anything like that, just not going to happen. Usually that stuff's set for WWDC, so they have the developers there because they'll announce, hey, we got a new product, and of course you're going to be developing for the product that's not coming out yet, but you'll get a developer's model, so you can make the changes that you need to, so when it does come out, you're ready for that. So this is going to be very low key, low economical, and I don't expect anything like Mac Pro unless they did something that just completely made it very economical and easy to use. So a lot of errors and a lot of low end. I don't want to call it lower end stuff. It is, because it is still good. It's stuff that you would most likely buy for your kids or something like that if they wanted an iPhone.
Carl, Courtney, next question.
Next question comes in from Tony Mobley in Noonan, Georgia, and he asks or wants to know, which iPad is Robert using?
Breaking the fourth wall again. Robert, what are you using down there?
I am using a iPad Pro 12.9 inch. I think it's the second generation, came out either late 21 or 22.
Yeah. The nice thing about the fact, Tony, that the video is not actually going through it. It's just a remote control. So it doesn't have to be a super duper robust machine. Courtney, next question.
Next one comes in from Paul Valhus in Austin, Texas. Paul says, AI is telling us robots need your body, and AI can't touch grass, but you can. You get paid when AI agents need someone in the real world. Will you do this for $100 an hour? And he has a link to a site called rentalhuman.ai.
What do you say, Carl? You going to be a slave to the robots?
It's the other way around. So we'll be the managers to the robots. And the thing is, you as a human manager needs to make sure that the yield the robot delivers is correct for the job. It's all about yield. So at the moment, we get a lot of AI slough, we get a lot of code coming out, and you have to go and finesse the code. So yield would be code that's usable, that's sellable, that is, that is correct. So humans' jobs will be managing robots or AI and making sure the yield of the product they're delivering is correct. So just like any other, just like a manager right now at a McDonald's has got to make sure that the food that's being delivered is eatable.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The sentence reads, you get paid when an AI agent needs someone in the real world. Will you do this for $100? And the website is called Rent a Human. It sounds like the robots need hands in the real world.
It already exists in car factories. So car factories have robots, and they have essentially technicians or somewhat engineers who go in and maintain the robots or change the programming on the robots. So it already exists, and it has existed since pretty much the 1980s in manufacturing. So this is nothing new. It's just there's a spin because we just have this marketing term now called AI, but that's it. There's no change.
Courtney?
Yeah, this seems kind of strange because it says robots can't touch, but robots can touch the grass. That's the whole idea of an instrumentality in a robot. It can actually walk and touch grass and do things that humans can do.
I think they're saying that
not an AI, and not an AI chatbot, perhaps.
Correct.
I see.
Okay.
So, if you've looked at the latest YouTubes on the dancing Unitree U2s, the latest Unitree robots that are dancing with the little Chinese children, take a look at that, doing kung fu moves. Really scary.
Whose idea was it to give those robots a sword? Jeffrey?
Yeah, I saw that.
Everybody
Ooh,
was kung
yeah.
fu fighting, that's for sure.
Not everybody.
Okay, good point. I actually was doing this at the end of 2025 and slightly the beginning of 2026. I wasn't doing rentalhuman.ai. I actually was working for a company called Mercor. I don't even know how to pronounce it. And basically my job was to teach AI how to AI. And there's different jobs that you can get from here. Like if you look at the list, you could be an AI cardiologist, you could be an equity research expert, you can work in biology. There were a couple groups I was in. The first one I was actually, we were talking about earlier about using AI to build websites and things like that. I actually was building websites and teaching the AI what to look for, what to ask for in that. And then another one I was doing actually was in the filmmaking area. So basically, what they wanted us to do is they wanted us to do repetitive motions. So like, for instance, I do about 12 seconds of something like this. And then I do something like take out something in the background and then do the exact same thing. Got to mimic exactly what it was. And the idea was it was teaching AI how to determine between the two what would happen. Now, they also have the human after AI jobs. So once again, the AI is working like a help desk or something like that. But when it comes to real determination as to what needs to be done, of course, if you're in cardiology, you got to be a licensed cardiologist to be able to make that call. So you can't have an AI bot say, okay, we're going to remove whatever. They got to go to somebody to make that decision. So I see this, and I can see in the future, this is definitely going to be something. It's just basically AI is going to be another layer in the onion to get the crazies out of the way so the real cases can be solved by human people.
I'm still worried about all this AI stuff. I'll be honest with you. Let's go to our last little bit here. Something that Grant always does on the show here. Content recommendations. Guy?
For me, it's going to be this one here by Aaron Parecki. It's called The Gear I Use for Live Streaming. It's really fascinating because he's built out a lot of specialty items like these convenience panels. I learned some things where this whole thing can pop out, which is really cool. So if you want to get to the cable behind it and you don't want to go behind the whole rack, you could just pop it right back out. So he shows how it opens up like that. And then he's got an Ultimat, and he shows how he does key fill with his Ultra Studio. So he's got quite the setup. It's very worth watching because he goes through and just his Stream Deck buttons, how he records, the file sizes, the different cameras, his lighting. So Paul Wallace, if you're watching this video is for you. It's Aaron Parecki's video. It's his latest video. And he's got the Rodecaster S, which is what you have. So it's pretty cool to see his teleprompter too, and how he uses that. So you're seeing his view, and then he has this cool little monitor below for chat with a Raspberry Pi. So he gave me a ton of ideas. That's why this is my content pick, because I just wouldn't have thought of some of these things. And he's a master at this stuff. So I have a lot of respect for that guy. He's been on our show before. And we'll bring him back in because this is fascinating to see this stuff.
The behind the scenes of his desk. Carl, what's your content recommendation?
So mine is going to be a YouTube channel. It's history based, so Historia Civilis. The one thing I like about this is what this particular, it's just a single creator that does this. And he keeps the animation very simple, but he goes deep into the actual history and like day-to-day history that happened maybe 100 years ago, maybe 2,000 years ago. I'm a big fan of the stuff he does on the Roman Empire. So he has a whole playlist on the Roman Empire, and he goes through like particular campaigns, like what happened on this day, what happened in the morning, the noon, and the afternoon on this particular day for, like, let's say Julius Caesar on one of his campaigns, because this is all written down. Julius Caesar was such a superstar that there were people around him who were simply writing down everything. We still have this. So this is a really cool channel if you actually want to understand. And also leading up to how Caesar became essentially emperor, or emperor in like, or supreme dictator essentially, and then his downfall, the Ides of March, and his downfall, like on the day, like who was where, who went to whose house. He also goes into a lot of the women in Rome, so a lot of the wives, The wives actually ran Rome when the men were away on campaign. So that's a whole other cool part of this, is you actually find out the politics, which was really the women in Rome who were running the politics inside of Rome while the men were out, in Gaul or Spain or wherever.
Courtney, content recommendation.
All right, seeing as it's Oscar season coming up here, and one of the films that is nominated for Best Picture is One Battle After Another by Paul Thomas Anderson. It's available for streaming right now on HBO, or you can rent it on Amazon. And I did run across, there's a great, a link was provided by ASC, I think, that is now available on YouTube. Watch the movie first, but there's a great scene at the end where is a car chase scene, and they like to compare it to The French Connection, which was what Paul Thomas Anderson always referred to when they said they were talking about this staging this car chase scene at the end of the movie. See the movie first, because there'll be lots of spoilers in this video that is available, called Filmmakers Breakdown Epic Final Car Chase Scene. They shot this movie in 35 millimeter on in VistaVision. The whole film is shot in VistaVision, which is a horizontal 35 millimeter format with more than the 4 perf pull down. I think it's 8 perfs or 6 perfs. So those cameras are from the 1950s, and they had to restore a lot of them, but to get them into all these strange places to shoot this car chase scene, put them on the sides of cars. They had a rig that has the camera on an elevator in the front of a Porsche Cayenne that can go up and down and take the camera to just a few inches off the pavement, which gives you this great
Crazy.
low angle. And the location that they used in the desert of in the northeast desert of California, near Borrego Springs, I think, is quite amazing. They call it the River of Hills, and it's all these up and down hills, and this car chase takes place on it, and it's a really incredible scene. So take a look at that. Take a look at the movie, and it'll probably win an Oscar for that kind of stuff.
Jeffrey.
My recommendation has not happened yet, because you got to come back here in about 24 hours and watch the Ecamm deep dive. And it's from what I've been seeing and hearing, it's going to be a pretty big and pretty cool, a very big panel, or high-end Ecamm people there. But also, if you guys go to Discord, you could probably nudge Chris Sabato and say, "Hey, what'd you do with your Ecamm thing?" and see if he'll give you some help in putting everything together. So check those out, and big shout out to Chris. He did a great job this weekend.
And since we broke the fourth wall this episode and brought the crew in, let's Robert, do you have any content recommendations?
Why, yes. Thank you, Mr. Fenwick. I've been watching the second season of Paradise on Disney Hulu, a post-apocalyptic super volcano.
It's fun.
Took everything out. It's a lot of fun. They added storylines to second season, so there's a lot of layers going on, and we don't know what's going to happen next.
It's a good show.
Very good. Thank you.
So, and my recommendation is going to be this. I have become an absolute F1 junkie, and it is race week in the F1 world. This weekend, there's going to be the first race of the 2026 season down there in Melbourne, Australia, and maybe you should check that out. If you were to have traveled around with us around the globe, getting all these questions answered this evening, we would have traveled 23,000 miles, a whole bunch of kilometers. And it's like 100, somebody figures this out every time, 183 million bananas for scale. So thanks for watching, and trust me, Grant will be back next week. It'll be much better, much better. Bye. Yay, mics are hot. Yay.
Hey, hot mics, hot
Nice
mics.
work, Chris.
We
Get
can
'em
say
up.
crazy stuff that's not being recorded. Oh, wait, it is.
Are our bananas hot too?
I don't
Did we
know.
not do our philolic reversal?
I did it. I already did it.
Didn't
Yeah.
I was there.
Hot bananas.
Robert, thank you for jumping in and doing that. Appreciate it. I know.
Oh, it's
I know.
fun. Thank you.
It was kind of off script, but you and Guy and everybody else did well. Thank you.
Yeah, you got to make us sweat, huh? Got to